Hello. This is another episode of me sharing with you some of my rambles about crochet and knitting. And today I wanted to talk about the beauty of fiber arts. This weekend was a emotionally charged weekend for me because my stepson graduated from high school. I had the wonderful pleasure of being a part of his life since he was 6 years old, and it brings me so much joy that was actually a part of that experience. And I remember so much about the journey that he and I went on to becoming friends. And then later becoming me becoming mom and he becoming my son. And because of the various emotions that I was feeling, my husband was feeling, I'm sure his mom was feeling as well. Yesterday, my husband and I went on this, like, we need to do all these errands. And so we stopped at all the stores, it felt like. And as we were stopping at different stores, I was crocheting and I was trying to start a pair of socks, and it just wasn't going well. I wanted to knit in public. That was an epic fail because you can't knit and be like focused at a graduation. At least I couldn't. I couldn't figure out how to cast on for some reason. I just completely like went brain dead. So anyway, went through all of that on Saturday and Sunday. And then finally, we got to our last stop, and it was to exchange my husband's phone for a new one because he was transferring onto my plan. Long story short, it did not go well. 6 hours later, he has a new phone, but doesn't have access to his iCloud. And it was just all this chaos. So I felt so distraught that I self-indulged and did not do the things that I typically do to cope whenever I'm feeling frustrated or very emotional. And when I say emotional, I mean like negative emotions where I'm thinking wrong things about myself, this, and the other. So that went on, and that emotional reaction I was still feeling from yesterday carried over in today. And it led to me having a headache. And when I get really bad headaches, I become nauseated, etc. So I was just feeling at my worst this morning, so bad, in fact, that I was like, there's no way I can successfully engage with my students in the classroom. So I decided to take the day off to recuperate. So I made one final attempt to fix the situation for my husband because that's who I am. I'm a fixer, and was unsuccessful. Mind you, I didn't sleep well last night. I didn't cope with the nose that was given to me yesterday. And I just felt emotionally wrought and drained. And I know for some of you watching this, you're like, really, you got emotional about a cell phone. And it wasn't just the cell phone. It was just the various reactions that others I had to interact with, that they had to my inquiries, because I am that person where I will ask a lot of follow-up questions in order for me to form a true picture or understanding of the situation. And so I felt distraught, and I came home still feeling a bit despondent because the last person I spoke with was not very nice. And then I, in turn, wasn't very nice to her. And I can see her reaction. And I don't like to make someone feel bad about themselves, that I don't feel any joy. And that even if that person was the first to attack me, I take no pleasure in being confrontational with anyone. That's just not me. So I came home and my head is pounding, and I'm like, I need to drink some tea and I need to have some breakfast. So I had my tea, I had some breakfast, and I'm working on a test knit. I'm doing a test knit of the Stripe Hype dress. This is made by Veronica Lindberg. I believe that's how she pronounces her last name. Excuse me if I'm incorrect. And I have already, as I mentioned in my previous video, I've already completed the first part of the pattern where you do the front back, and then you pick up stitches along the front. And then, so right now I just picked up stitches on the left, and then I'm going to pick up stitches on the right, and then join in the middle, do the rest of the body, then pick up stitches for the arm, and then around the neck. I'm assuming that's the rest of the way the pattern is going. I'm about to start some increasing, and it's a really easy pattern. I cannot wait for all of you to have access to it. I can honestly say so far it has been a breeze, and I know I haven't made as much progress as I should have in my last sharing. But as I said, I've been a little caught up with family life, as well as making the crochet blanket. So anywho, when I sat down, I was still feeling teary-eyed. I was still feeling frustrated. I was still feeling like I just wanted to fix this for my partner. And then I started picking up stitches and I knit one, two, three. Looks like I did 36 rows of knitting. And I feel better. And so I share this by stating that I know there's other podcasters that also share this as well. There's a rhythm to knitting and crocheting. And for me, it truly does calm my spirit when I have the opportunity to take this beautiful piece of string and turn it into something like this that's later going to hug my body and make me feel good about myself. Or if I'm making it for someone else, hug their body and make them feel good for themselves. I just made a blanket for a first-time mom, and she and her baby girl are going to be able to wrap themselves up in it. I am going to later be sending my little cousin a stuffy that I made for her first baby, that her little child can now play with and have a good time with. And it's important to remember that knitting and crochet can not only bring others joy when you make something for them, but it also can kind of calm your spirit. When you're having a day when you're feeling unsettled or you're feeling frustrated or confused, sometimes it's best just to take a break and engage in the activity that is going to give your spirit the rest it deserves. So today, my head still hurts a little bit, not as much as it was. The tea actually helped a lot. I think I have lack of caffeine in my system because I'm tired. Been up since 2:48 a.m. But I think with the combination of doing my knitting and calmly digesting everything that has happened in the last 36 hours, I have come to a realization that there are just some things out of my control. So I picked up my phone and I apologized to the woman who I was very rude to, although she didn't have to apologize either, nor did she, and I wasn't expecting her to. I didn't call her looking for her to apologize. I just know there's something about my character. So I did that. And then I sent a message to my partner and let him know that the ball is in his court and he will have to figure out what are the next steps that he's going to take in order to successfully get his phone situated. And then I decided what I'm going to have for lunch, which I'm going to have as soon as this video is done. And then I am going to finish up listening to this book by Jojo Mayes. It's really good. And for the life of me, cannot remember the name of it. But I know the cover's pink. And I'm sorry I don't remember the name of it. But I can honestly say every book I have listened to by her, because I love my audiobooks, I've been thoroughly enjoyed. It's really, really good. So just wanted to share. You're having a bad day, you like to crochet, or if you like to knit, sit down, put on some music, put on a favorite movie, or put on a podcast, or an audiobook, whatever it is that you like to do as you're knitting and crocheting, and let your mind relax. Sometimes it helps. And I will admit there's been times where I've been in a mental state where my knitting and crochet did not alleviate that pain entirely, but I'm always going to recommend doing the things that bring you joy first. So for some, it's exercise. For others, it's knitting. For others, it's crocheting. But whatever it is, it's going to bring you joy in that moment. Please, please, please do it. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to share is my love of weaving in my ends as I go. Now, this is new for me. Like I said, I'm doing this test knit, and this is a striped sweater. And so obviously I'm going to have to cut my ends in order to move on. Some people carry the yarn, but I really don't like that look with the carrying. So what I've been doing, I'm going to get really close so you can see. Let the focus camera, oh, don't focus on me, focus on them. Perfect. I hope you see that. What I've been doing is weaving in my ends as I go. And dude, why haven't I been doing this the whole entire time? I'm thinking of all those hours I spent weaving in my ends and feeling annoyed, especially for some of my Kim Hargraves patterns that I've done. Not that I've done that many, where you have to, because with her patterns, it's always in pieces and then you seam them together. And I just could not, like, oh, it was annoying to weave in all the ends. And sometimes I don't mind, like crocheting. I definitely don't mind weaving in my ends. And I think that's because I'm more skilled at crochet, or I feel more confident with doing crochet. But knitting, I'm still building my confidence. So this is new to me. I'm sure many of you have heard of Ready Pink Knits. She has amazing tutorials online where I can honestly say her videos have helped me in my knitting. It has helped say oh, that's what the designer meant. And this is no different. I found her weaving in ends and I was like, wait a second, I should just do this as I am knitting the stripe dress, because it's going to make this process so much easier. And I'm going to be able to successfully complete this finishing as I go. And it makes for a cleaner look. My edges are cleaner. The back of it, no one's going to be seeing the inside of it. And it also made me realize that maybe I might be able to try out intarsia and color stranded work, because I've done a few and I still don't feel 100% confident in doing color stranded or intarsia. And so I've always has been very hesitant about doing those patterns, even though I own 1, 2, 3, 4, I think I own 5. No, 6. I forgot about the spark socks. So yeah, I am excited about this. I'm going to continue working on this particular pattern, and I am also going to get myself something to eat. But yeah, highly recommend, if you don't weave in your ends as you go, and let me start off by saying, if you don't like putting in or the time of the finishing where you're weaving in your ends, knit them as you go or crochet them as you go. There are great tutorial videos on YouTube that shows you both weaving in your ends as you go for both crochet and knitting, and I highly recommend them. It has helped me, even with crochet, I have learned to do that as well, and every time I do a crochet project, I now know how to do that. And I find that especially for crochet, the item doesn't fall apart, because when I was weaving in after I finished the project, my energy or interest in the project wasn't as high, and I was just rushing through it when I initially started crocheting. And then over time, when I started to put a little bit more effort to make a little cleaner garment or blanket or accessory, whatever it is I was doing, I put forth a little bit more effort. And it's no different with knitting. I found that now that I'm a little bit more skilled and I feel a little bit more confident, I'm by no years, I call myself the adventurous beginner. I definitely don't have intermediate skills. Maybe in 5 years I can say that, but not right now. But one thing I will say for certain is that I truly, truly, truly love learning new techniques, and I'm happy to share with you the new technique I learned this week. Some other random things that I wanted to share as well was around fingering weight yarn. So I'm going to show you. I mentioned in a couple of other videos that I really wanted to increase my fingering weight stash. So I know it's a little hard to see, but this is now all of my fingering weight. And it's a relief to have it, because now the projects that I really wanted to do, I can now do. The other thing is, I've noticed I really don't like using the 6mm needles. 5.5 maybe, but 6mm not as much. And I say this because I am doing the Magpie Fibers Ranunculus cowl. I'm having a lot of fun. This is you join doing this particular cowl, and we have a knitting group that we meet every Thursday. And when I say every Thursday, this would be the second Thursday coming up. But nevertheless, I did the swatch for my ranunculus. I finished one ranunculus, and I had 2 others on a needle that didn't quite end up as well as they should have. The first one that didn't end up as well as it should, I may have broke for the sleeves in the wrong spot. this what happens when you're trying knitting at 11 o'clock at night when you're dead tired. So that was the mistake with that one. And with the other ranunculus, it was going well. The yoke was coming along. But I was doing it for size 1 because the way I was reading the measurements, I was like, oh, my bust size is not 46, so I should, go down to size 1. And realized that with the ranunculus, it's intended to have a certain amount of positive ease, and the size that I needed to do just wasn't the case. And I'm still learning about this, and this is something I'm going to continue to journey and share, just identifying what is the right size for me to do, and which garment is it more appropriate for me to do, a medium, a large, or an extra large. So for example, most of my tops that I own are either a medium or a large. I have very long arms, so I usually opt to take, like when it's a long sleeve shirt, I always go for a large because I find that I can either stretch out the garment enough. Like for example, this little pullover I got from Walmart, it's an extra large. No, it's a large and it's too short, and I should have got this in extra large, but they didn't have any more in that size. So again, for some garments, I like to go for a large so I can pull it out. And then for like my short sleeve items, this depends. If it's a t-shirt, I like to wear a large because sometimes they shrink if it's not really good material. And if it's a knitted garment, depending on the drape I wanted to have, if I wanted to have more of a fitted look. As I've gotten older, I really don't like to wear fitted garments as much, nor do I like to wear items that are too, cropped, because I'm 42 now, not 22. And my tummy doesn't look the same as it did when I was 22. When I was 22, I had a little bit of a flatter, non-stretchy, weird pouch happening. Was not in my life because there was no babies in. But post 2 babies, I have this weird pouch that no matter how many sit-ups I've done, yoga poses, it's gotten flatter, but it's not going away, which is okay. It's just evidence of the love I have for my 2 sons. So anywho, I'm struggling with picking the right size for my garments that I'm knitting. So like my DRK everyday sweater, I had to look back at my Ravelry page, but I believe I did a large with that. And you know one thing, and again, this is one of the reasons why I do like top down sweaters a little bit more than bottom up and seam together, so you can try on as you go. So with my DRK, I'm just looking at it right now. I'm pulling it up. So at DRK, I ended up doing a size 4. So I started out with casting on for a size 2 because I wanted a tighter neckline. Then I transitioned over to do increases for size 3, and I tried it on and I didn't like it. So then I kept doing increases and then I kept doing the pattern for size 4. And when I tried it on, loved it. And don't know if you can see. Ooh, see, child, I was so happy when I put that on. I could not believe it because I said before and I said again, I had no idea I was going to love a garment or a sweater as much as I love that one. The color is not my jam. I never done soft tweed before. Everything about that particular pattern and the garment I was making is totally out of my comfort zone. I am a black and gray person to the day I die probably, but this one I wanted to try something a little different, and I'm glad because I love the way it fits on me. I wore it with a pair of jeans and I was like, I felt cute. So that's all that matters. And so that the success of that has lifted my confidence in trying out other things. So with this particular pattern, I'm doing, because it's a test knit, I'm doing a medium, but I am going to try it on, and I might have to increase for a size large in my hips area because like I said, I'm shaped like a pear. So I might have to do that, but I really am excited. I am still working on my tunic, which is on the other side of the room. I'm not going to get it. I am still working on that. It put a pause on that because I'm a little behind on my test knit. I should have the left and the right front and joined and around by this particular point, given the timeline I made myself, but got distracted. But the great thing is I have until July 3rd. Today, I still have time. I have about 2.5 weeks to work on all three, because the other item, I'm doing that for myself and my friend. And I want us to wear, I'm hoping that she'll wear her shirt and I can wear my tunic on the day when we go see the 7th or 8th. I don't know how many now. Mission Impossible, because she and I are those people who love Mission Impossible movies, and we see them all in the movies. Yeah. So anyway, this is one of the benefits of swatching, because it can help you start rethinking about what size you're going to select. And it also helps you think about the fabric, because it's not, yes, you definitely want to have the right stitches and whatnot to make sure you're picking, but the fabric is also a really big deal. So for me, I am, how can I say this? I'm not too sure I want such an open fabric for, let me just get closer, for my ranunculus. I want to wear this in both the fall and winter. And I want to make this a long sleeve one. Whereas the short sleeve one, I definitely want it to be tighter. So, because I'm going to do 2 again. Let's see if it goes well. So I've already cast on the neck, and tomorrow's Tuesday. So depending on how far I get in my test knit, I will go ahead, because this cowl's going on for a minute. It's not like it's going to go on just for a month. I'm doing this cowl, I believe it's to the end of the summer. So I got plenty of time. I'm going to do 2. And I'm just going to see. I think where I'm going to start is possibly doing the cast on in the 5.5, because I like tightness around my neck, as long as it fits over my head. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm going all over the place with that particular garment. I love the ranunculus. I think it's a well-written, beautiful pattern. I have had success with one garment I've made with it, and my hope is I can find success with the other 2. I have plenty of yarn to keep trying it out, and I want to do one in black, and I'm going to do one in green, and we'll see what happens from there. Oh, I thought I heard someone for a second. Nothing else is new. I have not purchased any yarn. I came close. I came real close. I had got an email from Biscotti Yarns, which I really like their yarn store. Sometimes it does take a minute to get there, but boy, oh boy, do they have a nice selection. And I was looking, I was like, oh, I want this, I want that. And I definitely came so close to making a purchase. And I'm like, but what am I buying? Because they have the baby camel yarn that I got, which I'm not going to even pull out in the pile, because if I pull it out, it's going to go everywhere. That particular yarn, if I were to purchase that, I want to purchase it for the right pattern, and I don't know what pattern I want to do for that. I'm starting to receive it's gonna hold. I've received, I think I just received my last birthday yarn order. Oh, excuse me. There's one more from Pick Up Every Stitch. I think they're waiting to see if they can order more of the Lamana. I told myself if I don't hear from them, but because I made the order on May 28th, my actual birthday, and if I don't hear from them by June 28th, I'll just send an email just to find out the status of the order, and if they're doing what I'm almost 99% certain that that's what they're doing. But one of my second to last yarn purchase, it just came in the mail, so I want to show that with you. So I've heard of Sonder Yarns a few times on various podcasts, and I was like, ooh, this sounds really cool. I think I want to take a look at that. And I, again, kept hearing about it, and I'm like, I really, it's my birthday, I want to try it. Though I purchased it like post my birthday, but like I said, there was still a little bit left over birthday budget money. So I bought 2 skeins. I'm going to try to get closer with the camera and focus on that. Perfect. I bought 2 skeins of this yarn. This is their Sonder Yak sock. Has 70% merino, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. It's about 400 meters, which equals to be about 437 yards, which is 100 grand skein. So I have 2 of these skeins, so I can make another ranunculus if I want to with this, or who knows. So this came in the mail. In addition to buying, because these were on sale, so in addition to buying that, I also, while I was on their website, purchased the sock set. And so, like I said, I'm starting to get into sock knitting. I have not completed the socks. I've started what do they call it? The DK vanilla socks. I'm using my Lola Bean socks that The yarn is beautiful. I cannot wait to buy more yarn from that, from her, and maybe even go to the store where she's based in Georgia one day. But nevertheless, I'm working on this pattern. I'm doing it in a size needle that the pattern calls for. It's called the DK Weight Vanilla Socks by Kay Linton. She's a crazy sock lady. You have to use DK yarn. It's a size 3.25 millimeter, which is a US 3. And you can either do DPNs, a magic loop, etc. I chose DPNs, and I'm actually not minding it. I actually like the DPNs. It's been pretty cool so far. And I know that a lot of people prefer magic loop. But excuse me, I haven't had a problem with it so far. So I watched a YouTube video on how to cast on a sock for with DPNs, because I did it, and then I wanted to watch a video just to make sure I did it right, and I did. So I was like, yay. So I'm moving along. I have broken for the heel flap for one, and for the other one, I'm still working on the leg, and I'm at the point where I'm about to break for the heel flap. I just got to count the number of rows just to make sure. Well-written pattern, and it's free, so highly would recommend it. I'm enjoying working on it. And so this particular yarn, as this is sock weight, and hopefully during the sock week with Knitting Natty, I can maybe even use this, and I have a whole slew of fingering weight yarn, even sock yarn that I can use. And I know that you don't have to use sock yarn in order to make socks. One other yarn purchase, again, made with birthday money, that finally came, I had actually forgot I ordered it, was my Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Let me try that again. Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Yeah. So for this particular yarn, I've been eyeing this yarn for 2 years. So yeah, I became a knitter, excuse me, in July 2021. And I went on, did a Google search to see what's the best yarn to use for knitting. Because I saw one blog or something that said that there's some yarns that are better for crochet and some yarns that are better for knitting. And I would agree. Based on my experience so far, there's definitely some yarns that you should only use for crochet, and there's some that's really great for knitting. So anywho, this was recommended for both knitting and crochet. So I was like, ooh, and this blue, oh my gosh, it is just, I don't know. I don't know why I like it. It's called Deep Petroleum Blue. This particular color lot is 96415. And man, I just really like it. Now, I love the color, but the yarn is not as soft as I thought. So here, when I got the cotton merino, I was like, ooh, this is soft. It was softer than what I anticipated. And I was like, okay. So I just assumed silk yarn would be soft as well. Silk yarn isn't that soft. And I was like, oh. And so I must admit, I was a little disappointed by that, because I had expected to be just a little bit, maybe because I'm used to working with superwash. I do spend a lot of time with superwash, so that's a possibility. But I am glad that I finally got the color. I've been eyeing it for 2 years. It will be 2 years next month. And I don't know what pattern I'm going to use it with. Based on what I've read online, it is recommended that you don't use the single strand. I shouldn't say it's recommended. When I've seen it in use, it's usually held together with another yarn. So I might do that, or I might find a light fingering weight yarn for it. This particular halo has 250 meters per 50 grams, and you get about 28 stitches per 4 inches, or 10 centimeters, and when you use 3-inch needles, or 3mm needles. So I don't know, I might still do it. I can totally see this being used for a summer garment. And in New England, we don't have very long summers, so my desire to knit a lot of summer garments is low, so I'm not really feeling that. However, and when I've been talking about doing a pattern for my best friend Lou for a minute on this, and I had she picked out the Hoagie Locatelli V-neck boxy sweater, and this would be the exact blue that she will love. I know she loves it. And now this one, she picked out because she says she liked this one as well, which can be used for a cardigan or whatnot. I don't know what I'm going to do with that particular, especially even just that ball of yarn or the 4 or 5 others I bought. But this would be perfect, I think, for that. The issue with this particular yarn is that it's definitely a light fingering, and I don't know if I'm going to get gauge with it. So I might reconsider, I might not reconsider. I don't know. It's there. I might hold, if I do go with this, I would have to buy a larger quantity of this or hold it together with the alpaca, because I think she would like this blue too. I don't know. Like, what I want to do is just make her come with me to her yarn store and pick the yarn that she wants for the pattern that she wants. We do that. Because I've been really indecisive about what to do in one day. So that happened. So I got my new yarn from Sandra Yarns. I like the yarn. Do I see myself buying it again? Probably not. The one yarn that I will definitely buy again that I got in the mail from Sandra is their Siri alpaca. Now, I know that this is a great alternative for many individuals who have an allergy to mohair, that it's not comfortable. And I just wanted to see what it's like because I have, where is it? I can't pull it. If I pull it, it's going to make the others fall. But I have that unicorn yarn that I got from Stephen and Penelope, and I want to buy more of that. That's another store I went on. I was like, I just want to buy one more, just more. I want more of the Isagara alpaca. I want more of the unicorn. I want more. But then I got this Sari alpaca, and dude, I like it. I like the fuzz to it. I think this is going to be fun for a sweater. But you know what it reminded me of? Rowan's cotton alpaca, which I have a large sweater quantity of because it was on sale on the Wool Warehouse. So that yarn usually ranges between $8 to $10 depending on which website. It was on sale for $2 and change in pounds, and then when you US dollars, it was a little over $3 halo. So I had to get it because I had to get it. So I'm really happy with that purchase, but it's just sitting underneath my bed, my guest bed. And what I'm going to do with it, I don't know. So I'm like on the fence. I was like, do I buy another skein of this or another sweater quantity? Because this is 328 yards. Excuse me, I'm a little dry. This is 328 yards. And you can use, it has actually good needle range between 2.75 to 5.5 millimeters. So when in doubt, I always think ranunculus, because I own the pattern. It's well written, it's easy to adapt, and it doesn't call for a lot of yardage for making a pattern in itself, which is why I'm attracted to it so much, because for a long sleeve, for example, for the size I would do, I only need about 600 to 656 yards of yarn, whereas a short sleeve, I would need between 437 to 481 yards of yarn as well. So like, you really just can't beat that. So I would totally buy I would only need one more skein of this and one more skein of that Stephen and Penelope yarn to meet the yardage needed for both the long sleeve and for a short sleeve, which is again why I like the pattern so much, because you can do your own jam. Like, if you don't want to do some of the parts of the yoke, you can just skip and go right into knitting the body. It's just a really well written pattern. Just allows for so many possibilities, and so I highly recommend it. So we'll see what I end up doing. I know right now I am pushing myself not to purchase any more yarn until I know what pattern I'm going to do. So that's where I'm at, and I hope I stick to that. So far, I have been able to meet that expectation, but I did promise myself that to stop buying random skeins of yarn unless it's like for sentimental. So for example, I'm going to DC, and for a work event. And I really want to drive back home rather than take the plane. I'm not I'm not enjoying flying as much as I used to when I was younger. I don't know. But nevertheless, I was thinking about just renting a car and driving back home. And then on my way home, I will stop at Magpie Fibers, because to DC to Maryland, I would cut over. Yeah, I would. Yeah, Maryland's on the way to my house, and I can also see some of my relatives too as I go through that particular part of the journey. So that's where I'm leaning towards right now, doing that. And if I were to do that, I would definitely buy some yarn. I've already started to save up before I put some money in savings. My yarn, I have a yarn savings, and I already put some money aside for that, so I can have that particular opportunity. But yeah, so that's one thing. I do like to buy like a sentimental road trippy yarn. So yeah, that's about it in terms of my yarn acquisitions, my yarn plans. And again, my goal is to buy a little bit more intention. I did come across an app that was mentioned on Andrea Mowry's most recent Knit If I Want To episode, where she mentioned an app that can help you make a little bit more informed decisions about what you're doing with the yarn. So like you come across a yarn and you don't have an exact pattern in mind, basically you can it will give you an estimate of how much yarn you should buy. And Lion Brand actually does this. Lion Brand will list on its labels how many balls of yarn you would need if you were to use this yarn to make a sweater, or if you were to use this yarn to make a hat or a necklace. So, or not a necklace. Did I say a hat or a necklace? I meant a hat or a scarf. So yeah, I think I don't know if I'm going to get that app or not, because it's $4.99, and at this particular point I'm pretty good at identifying how much yarn I need. I do play Yarn Chicken from time to time, but not as often as I could. Like, you know, I definitely do play Yarn Chicken. I will never sit here and deny that. And there are a few patterns where I can see that happening. I have them in my possession, but it's not something that happens on a regular basis. So we'll see as well. I don't have any plans to cast on anything new. I am going to continue working on my test knit because it is joyful to do because of the various stripes that are happening. I'm also going to continue to work on my cherry sweater because again, it's joyful to do. And like I mentioned before, I'm in a stripe mode. So if I finish the cherry sweater and cherry tunic and still feeling a little stripy, I'm going to go ahead and cast on this cardigan that I found that requires you to do it in stripes, because I have not made a cardigan since I completed the ELA, which I finished around May 15th. So I'm a little cardigan deprived right now, and I really would like to do that. I had hoped to do the Good Grandpa sweater, the Good Grandpa cardigan, but I cannot find a yarn that I would like to use because again, that's a pattern for my friend, and the yarn that I have in my stash. I got gauged with the paint box yarn, and it's acrylic, which would be good for gift knitting because I prefer to do acrylic or superwash for my gifts. But I don't have either the quantity, or I don't like the fabric. So I tried the paint box yarn, and the fabric was fine. Here, I'll show you. Fabric was fine. It's actually pretty lightweight. And I think it would keep her warm. But then that's just it. It would keep her warm. And I'm like, dang, it's warmer in Georgia than it is cold. And because she works hybrid both at home and in the office, I want her to have a sweater that if she was in an air conditioned environment, she would feel warm. And if she has to take it off when she goes outside, she'll be okay. I want it to be like if I make her a cardigan, I want it to be a good sweater knit. But if I make the V-neck boxy, I want it to be a little bit more of a lighter weight. And I think that knitting for Olive would definitely give it that lightweight sweater, because you don't really need to wear heavy sweaters, at least in my memory of living in Georgia. I know I haven't lived in Georgia in since 2004, 3? No, that's when I started law school. I started law school in 2004. So that was when I had no longer lived in Georgia. So I know that weather patterns have changed, and I know that they've had recent winter and snowstorms that, or winter storms, I should say, that have changed the weather pattern that I grew accustomed to experiencing while living down there. But I just want her to be comfortable. And we are getting older, and we run a little hotter. I don't know, after 35, you start getting a little warmer, and 40, so you get a little hotter, and 50, I'm assuming it's going to be too hot as well, which is why I'm not looking forward to retiring in a hot environment. I hope I can convince my partner that we can retire in Vermont, where we get at least 4 seasons. And I don't know, I'm just not, I definitely don't like the heat. The older I get, I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Even yesterday, it was only 70 degrees and I still felt uncomfortable. But yeah, that's all my knitting rambles for today. Thank you for allowing me to share something a little personal with you today about the joys and benefits of knitting. As I said before, you're having a moment and you need some clarity. I cannot emphasize enough the beauty of doing what you love. And again, whether it's knitting or crocheting, I'm telling you, I'm really grateful for that because I can now smile with a little bit more ease today ever since I picked up my needles. And I just never knew how much, how calming this art is. So thank you for listening to my rambles for today. And I will try my best to put things in the show notes. I remember sometimes and sometimes I don't. And I hope you forgive me. I will chat with you all soon. Have a wonderful day.